Alright, Shalom Hebrews. This Israel been Israel for the Israelite Brotherhood. This Israel been Israel for the Israelite Brotherhood. Okay, Hebrews. A lot of Hebrews be believing in that New Testament and in that New Testament history, and then don't really know the history of the New Testament. You know, we basically believe in the New Testament the way that our mothers and fathers taught us, or the way that our elders taught us, you know, people that's close to us, because, you know, they thought that they love us and that they was giving us the correct information. You know, it's a fact that the whole Christian concept and the understanding of biblical history and how we Israelites view the New Testament come from the slavery days. It's a known fact that if a preacher want to teach in a church, that 9 out of 10 he done went to those biblical colleges and them biblical institutions and then got learnt by the enemies and how they view the New Testament, and they ain't gonna never tell the truth. They ain't gonna never tell the truth. And if you Hebrews looking for your enemies to tell the truth, you need to be almost slapped upside the head, because they ain't gonna ever tell you the truth. You can't ever get the enemy to tell you the truth, and you ain't finna never get the enemy to tell you the truth when it come to biblical history and Israelite history. Basically, all lies that exist today stem from the biblical history lies that our enemies created. You know, and it's like within the Israelite history, there's two groups of people, or two groups competing for the Israelite history and for the control of the Israelite history. You know, you get the groups. These are the groups: Ashkenazi equals Scythian. Sephardim, that's the Hebrew word for the Sephardi groups. Sephardic and Sephardim. The Sephardi is gonna be like the ones that's mostly mixed with the people that been in the promised land that's other than the Arabs. They like straight up Amorites, you know. And the Sephardic gonna be like the Sephardis that mix with Europeans, mostly some like Ashkenazi. And then the Sephardim gonna be the ones that mix with the Arabs and the Africans and so forth. You know, the East Africans and North Africans, and they are called Sephardim. You know, in the Arab controlled lands, and those two groups constitute the Jewish people, the Jewish groups, and it's a whole lot of Hebrews confused about those groups. You know what I'm saying? Basically, they don't even have an understanding of those groups. And when the average Hebrew speak about Jewish history, the people that's non-Israelites, they go straight to the myths, you know, to the Khazar myths. You know, that's, you always hear old unknowing unhistorical knowing Hebrew hollering, the Khazars, the Jews are the Khazars, the 13th tribe, and all that old crazy mess. That's like another one, you know. The synagogue of Satan, they are the synagogue of Satan, who say they are Jews and are not knowing none of the history, and them folks be sitting back laughing and popping bottles off our ignorance, because we, you know, not the Israelite Brotherhood, but I'm speaking about the Israelite community. Basically, the Israelite community don't really know no history, and 9 out of 10, when a Hebrew kicks some history, he gonna be kicking Jewish history, because he don't know nothing about the Jews, and he basically explained the myths that they put out. Well, I'm gonna show you, Hebrews, you know what I'm saying, that the New Testament is not kosher, and that this Jesus individual, that, you know, whatever Hebrew name equivalent you want to call him, it don't make a difference. Still the same person and still the same history. Okay, it is a known fact that Jesus come out of Egypt. And then when Jesus come out of Egypt, Jesus gonna come out them schools, you know, especially if he spent a significant time in Egypt. You know, who in the world would want to be in Egypt and not get educated during them times with the books and the knowledge that they held? Well, they had a whole lot of organizations, you know what I'm saying, in the promised land during that time, and all of them was kind of like coming from them schools in Egypt. You know what I'm saying? The Egyptians unleashed they pupils who was controlled. You know, the Ptolemies, the Greek Ptolemies, you know, they claim Israelite heritage. You know what I'm saying? I could show that in history, how they claim the Israelite heritage. The Ptolemies, you know what I'm saying? The Ptolemies and the Lichimus, you know what I'm saying? That's gonna be your boy Alexander's the Great bodyguard and stuff. And from his bodyguards, you know what I'm saying, taking control of his empire when he passed away, you see what I'm saying? The Ptolemies came to the promised land, and they came to Egypt and they took the promised land over. You see what I'm saying? And then Alexander General, the Seleucids, and you know the other ones held control of Syria and Babylon and so forth. You see what I'm saying? But the Ptolemies, I can show that they was undercover Jews. You know what I'm saying? I got history showing that the Ptolemies, through the Lichimus, were undercover Jews, and those people inherited our heritage. You know what I'm saying? That's like the Lichimus. You know, the Lichimus, 360 BC, 281 BC, was one of the immediate bodyguards of Alexander during his Persian campaigns. You know, and one of his descendants, you know, the 46 co-high priests of, you know, them Jews was Lichimus. You see what I'm saying? Well, them Jews got him. You know what I'm saying? Them Edomites. And this is the history that I want to try to explain to you Hebrews, is that the history and how we've been viewing history is incorrect. You see what I'm saying? Incorrect. Because, you know, that's like the Jews, they not gonna explain to you what really happened. You see what I'm saying? They not gonna explain to you what really happened. You see what I'm saying? That's like in history, they got it rolled up that the Scythians mysteriously disappeared. You see what I'm saying? Because after the Chaldean wars, you see what I'm saying, and them folks settled in our land, they took on a whole new identity. You see what I'm saying? And the Scythians made up the Chaldean army. You see what I'm saying? And they first destroyed Assyria. You know what I'm saying? They destroyed Assyria in 612 BC. And matter of fact, the prophets Nahum tell you about Assyria fixing to destroy the Scythians and the Chaldeans fixing to destroy Assyria. You know, the prophet Nahum give up that history and stuff, you know. And you know what I'm saying? That's like in history, you know what I'm saying? They so cold with telling lies, you know what I'm saying? That's like Midas, bearer to the sun. You know, Midas is the one that went and got all the nations together to destroy Assyria. First, he acted like the Assyrian friends, and then, you know, he turned on them. He went and got the other nations, and then they came and destroyed Assyria. Well, King Midas and his daddy was Scythians. They was Ashkenazi, and Ashkenazi is the code word for Scythian. You know what I'm saying? That's like if you type in Ashkenazi called Scythian, you gonna see that they gonna tell you off the top that Ashkenazi were from the Scythian region, and that they was called, you know what I'm saying, the Ashkenazi was called Scythians. You know what I'm saying? And then these folks will go on and tell you, you know what I'm saying, that the Assyrians called Ashkenazi by their real name. You see what I'm saying? It's just that their names started to get obscured when they settled in the promised land, and then them Babylonian scribes start refashioning history, because they had to refashion history to cover up their origin, because if people knew what their origin was, then they would know that they are not the Israelites. You see what I'm saying? That's why Ashkenazi was first associated with the Scythians. You see what I'm saying? Alright, if they associated with the Scythians, then Ashkenazi can't be the Israelites that history portrayed them to be. You see what I'm saying? So, they have to have an origin, and their origin is readable in history, even though they done hid it and mixed it up and then tried to throw you off, but the history is still there. And what I want to show is how Jesus kicked it with nothing but Scythians. His whole message was to the Scythians, and the people he recruited was in the Scythian hell area. It was a battle going on, because Ashkenazi had settled in our land during the Babylonian wars, after they chased us into Africa in 588 BC, chapter 24, chapter 2 Kings. You know what I'm saying? Let's do a little biblical history and lay down some roots. And then I'm going to show y'all in this New Testament how Jesus ain't the person that y'all really think he is, and that you only looking at Jesus through the eyes that was given you. You see what I'm saying? You only looking through Jesus from the history and the context that the enemy put him in. You ain't looked outside that and seen the other history of Jesus, the real history. You see what I'm saying? And when you do, oh man, you're going to be surprised that the New Testament is not what you really thought it was. You see what I'm saying? You thought that Jesus was saving Hebrews, and he came as a God's son, and he was the ultimate sacrifice, and that he took away the sacrifices for sin and so forth. And what Hebrews fail to realize is that the covenant was already broken. The covenant was already broken. The covenant was broken during the Babylonian wars, when we Hebrews told the prophet Jeremiah that, we was going into Africa to worship the Egyptian religion. And consequently, because of that, we was chased up off the land. And if you go to 2 Kings chapter 25 verse 26, you'll say, and all the people, both small and great, and the captains of the armies arose and came to Egypt, for they was afraid of the Chaldeans. Well, the Chaldeans wasn't nothing but Ashkenazi, because Ashkenazi made up the whole Chaldean army. And if you look in history, they even got it, what they can show where the Scythians arrowheads found throughout the whole promised land, from them shooting us up and chasing us up off the land, and how those arrowheads are still there. I got another video showing the arrowheads and stuff, and I'm talking about, Ashkenazi, the Scythian, them heritage, but what I'm saying, they had a tribal-bite arrowheads, the Scythians, when they chased us up off the land, was found in Tel Megadim, Atilit, Medigo, Kashan, Quasham, Samaria, Tel Micah, Gezer, Tel Nabash, Jerusalem, in the city of David, Katif, Hanam, and on the southern western hill at Ashkelon, Ekron, Ashdod, Tel Batas, Tel Al-Hassi, Latish, Beth Shemesh, Galim, Gahadi, Tel El-Mazrazri, man, it go on in the Sinai Mountains and all everywhere. You know what I'm saying? They shot the whole place up, chasing us up off the land. You know what I'm saying? The Scythians did. You know what I'm saying? In the book of Kings, 2 Kings, tell you, you know what I'm saying, that they chased us into Africa, and we was abandoning our heritage. The Egyptians had tricked us out of our heritage, and I got videos going into this in detail. You know what I'm saying? And I'm going to cover this little history real quick, and then I'm going to get into the New Testament, showing that Jesus wasn't what we thought it was. You know what I'm saying? And that Jesus ministered to the Scythians. You know, his whole area and where he was in the Discopolis city, and all his miracles and all his so-called acts of sorcery and all that stuff, because ain't nobody ever did that type stuff. You know what I'm saying? All that sorcery and wizardry, all that was done on the Scythians, on Ashkenazi in the Discopolis. See, the people in Jerusalem was upset, you know what I'm saying, about all them old synagogues, you know what I'm saying, that was around that Ashkenazi had throwed up, because Ashkenazi didn't go to the temples to be instructed. Ashkenazi immediately started throwing them up some synagogues and started getting the little books and started trying to teach their people to be Israelites. Well, the people in Jerusalem, you know, Jesus was trying to teach them folks in the Discopolis city. He was sent out of Egypt to try to convert them folks and start a new religion with them, to get them up off Judaism. You know what I'm saying? The way they was, so that the Edomites who controlled the land, because we know John Heinekes in 130 BC converted all Edom to Jewishness. To by time Herd was born in 73 BC, they was all Edomites. And that let you know that they was Edomites is because Herd built that temple in 20 BC that was destroyed in 70 AD. You see, but before then, that temple was around in Jesus' time, and Jesus went to that temple and taught, showing that he was an Edomite too, and Jesus had Edomite members. You see what I'm saying? The Edomite members, you know, he was an Edomite, and the people, the Sephardi Jews who had settled in our land during the during the Assyrian troubles that we had, they, you know, didn't go into Africa when we was chasing into Africa, and then they was in the promised land, and then they would be looked upon as the Hebrews when we abandoned the covenant and ran into Africa and stuff. You know, I'm gonna show that too, where them folks come from. But if you go to Jeremiah 44, verse 15, 16, 17, and 18 was the state of mind. And that was the state of mind that we was in. You know, the Egyptians had tricked us out of our heritage. You know, I can show this, you know, how, you know, after King Josiah cleaned the Egyptian religion up that we was on for 300 years, since Jeroboam brung it out in 931 BC, and King Josiah cleaned it up around about 621 BC, that the Egyptians come out and killed him and put us back on the Egyptian religion, and we was chased up off the land because we said we didn't want to do the covenant no more. You know, and those Hebrews that went in to Africa, the 99%, you know, because it wasn't no lost tribes. I show this in the videos, you know, in all the videos, how it wasn't no 10 lost tribes and how those are myths. Well, those Hebrews that went into Africa during the Babylonian War never returned, the ones that said that they wanted to worship the Queen of Heaven. And you have the book of Ezra, Nehemiah, Haggai, Zechariah, and Malachi to verify this. You know, that when the exiles come back from Babylon, you know, that little tenth, they didn't record the people that went into Africa to worship the Egyptian religion as coming back. We are them. Those people was captured during the transatlantic slave trade and took into, you know, slavery, and we represent them. All right. Then all the men which knew that their wives had burned incense unto other gods, and all the women that stood by a great multitude, even all the people that dwelt in the land of Egypt and Pathros, answered Jeremiah, saying, as for the word that thou hast spoken unto us in the name of the Elohim, we will not hearken unto thee, but we will certainly do so whatever thing go forth out of our own mouth, to burn incense unto the Queen of Heaven, and to pour out drink offerings unto her. We and our fathers and our kings and our princes in the streets of Judah and in the streets of Jerusalem, for then had we plenty of food and were well, and saw no evil. But since we left off to burn incense to the Queen of Heaven and to pour out drink offerings unto her, we have wanted all things, and have been consumed by the sword and by famine. Well, that calls out slavery right there. We was chased up off the land by Ashkenazi in the book of Habakkuk.
her book go into detail. You see what I'm saying? How Ashkenazi was coming to get us for saying that we wanted to do the Egyptian religion, and then those people settled in our land. You see what I'm saying? They settled in our land, and they lived in Scythopolis. Scythopolis is the head city of the Discopolis cities, and we live there, and we live there. I mean, the Scythians live there. We didn't live there. The Scythians live there, and that was the head city of the Discopolis cities, where Jesus did all his ministry and all his wizardry. And if you look, Scythopolis is right next to Nazareth. You see what I'm saying? So it's impossible for Jesus to have not mixed up with the Scythians and be, part of what they had going on too. You see what I'm saying? And them gonna be the people that had all the synagogues that Jesus was teaching in, because the other Jews, the Sephardi Jews, had the temple. They was mixed with the Edomites. And this is the Discopolis cities. This where Jesus did all his ministry. You see what I'm saying? And then they had over 380 synagogues in the promised land during Jesus' time, and Jesus didn't raise no fuss about it, because he was trying to create another religion. You know what I'm saying? And that's like Jesus teaching in them synagogues. You know what I'm saying? If you go to let's pull up some of them synagogues. Let's pull up some of them synagogues. All right. If you go to Matthew, that's gonna be Matthew 4 verse 23. You know what I'm saying? You're gonna see that Jesus stayed in the synagogues. I'm gonna show you how Jesus was in all these synagogues in the Discopolis, and them people in the Discopolis, them 10 cities tried to make like they was of the tribes of Israel, and each city will represent a tribe. And the people who stayed in them cities tried to say that they was of them tribes and stuff. And they didn't catch on, because they kind of like had too many rules. But that's what Jesus was trying to set up, and he was trying to be the king over them folks. You know what I'm saying? If you go to 4:23, let's see. And Jesus went about all Galilee, teaching in their synagogues and preaching the gospel of the kingdom and healing. You see what I'm saying? He stayed in them synagogues, and there followed him great multitude of people from Galilee and from the Discopolis. Those going to be those synagogues, them synagogue cities. You know what I'm saying? And he prayed in synagogues all the time. That's all he was praying in and teaching in was synagogues. And then when he went up to Jerusalem, them folks was kind of stiff. You know what I'm saying? Him teaching them folks another way outside the Torah that they made a vow to keep when we ran into Africa. You see what I'm saying? So, it's a whole lot going on with this New Testament. I'm here to tell you, Hebrews, it ain't what you think it is. It is not what you think it is. Look, and Jesus went about all the cities and villages, teaching in their synagogues and preaching the gospel of the kingdom and healing every sickness. You know what I'm saying? And when the multitude, he moved with compassion, and you know what I'm saying? But yeah, man, he was teaching in synagogues. And all right, synagogues. And the synagogues is what Ashkenazi constructed, because Ashkenazi couldn't go to the temple. You see what I'm saying? Ashkenazi couldn't go to the temple. All right, man. If you look at, all right, but let me see. But beware of men, for they will deliver you up in the council, and they will scourge you in their synagogues. You see what I'm saying? Because some of them folks wasn't with him teaching them. You see what I'm saying? Because they knew who he were. But he come out of Egypt with those healing practices and had knowledge of the physical, you know what I'm saying, body and stuff, so he could do some healing and stuff, and them people, will flock to him, you know what I'm saying, to be healed of they different diseases and all kind of stuff, because them folks was from Europe, the Caucasus Mountain and stuff, and they had probably all kind of sicknesses and diseases and stuff. Well, Jesus spent this time with them, and them was white folks. You see what I'm saying? Everybody in the Discopolis were white. You see what I'm saying? And they kind of like got a little build up when the Greeks came. You see, the Greeks helped them build up their establishment because they was kinfolks to the Scythians, and then the Romans came in and really helped them, and then they will burn the temple down, the Romans, and then leave Ashkenazi with the synagogues that you have today. You see what I'm saying? That Jesus was teaching in. You see what I'm saying? So history ain't what y'all think it is. You know what I'm saying? And if you go to 1354, and when he was come into the country, and he taught them in their synagogues, insomuch that they were astonished, and said, whence has this man this wisdom and these mighty works? You see what I'm saying? And them folks, he was teaching in their synagogues, and he was teaching them Scythians that had settled in the promised land after the Babylonian wars. You see what I'm saying? And that's what he did. You know what I'm saying? He was trying to recruit them to his new religion. You see what I'm saying? Jesus made a new religion, and Jesus was from Galilee too. Galilee, in that whole northern province, was controlled by Europeans and Scythians and European related people. That was the first way that they came into the promised land. It was the first way that they were coming to the promised land was from the east. You see what I'm saying? From these parts. You know what I'm saying? They would come on around, and then they would come from here and all these parts, and then they would come this way. And they had to come through the northern part first, and then that's what Jesus and them was, and that's where they settled at. You see what I'm saying? Them Europeans, and then them Scythians that settled after the Babylonian wars in Scythopolis. Jesus would spend his whole time teaching them. He would spend his whole time teaching them. And them was his people that he ministered to. And when he came to save and came to change, it was all about them. It wasn't about nobody else. And there's even pause in there when they say, Jesus, when is the end of time? And Jesus said, before y'all generation end, all this is gonna happen. And ain't none of that stuff happened. Dude was a false prophet. And if Moses or Abraham or Isaac ever got their hands on him, they would stone him to death, talking about he a God's son, that he the son of the creator. They would have stoned him. Moses would have sure enough killed him without a shadow of a doubt. Moses would have killed Jesus. You know what I'm saying? And then they gonna have that old sorcery stuff, talking about Jesus took his disciples and they was up in the mountain, and Moses transfigured and his image appeared. Man, them folks are so wicked, and the New Testament history ain't nothing but Egyptian religion with a new twist. You see, because Jesus was a parable king. Jesus was a parable king, and he was a parable scribe. You see what I'm saying? His whole ministry and his whole saying was done in parables. That's because he come from Egypt with that stuff. He was probably a high initiate. He probably could even reach a priesthood in Egypt, being there for all them years that he was there. You see what I'm saying? So it's possible that he came out and wanted to start his own religion, being that he couldn't start a religion in Egypt when he was there. And what better people to start a religion on than the Scythians? And guess what? Them Scythians, them white folks, become the first Christians. The Discopolis peoples became the first Christians, his first members, and Christianity was spread from that. Even, the Babylonian scribes will get their hand on it and doctor it up and fashion it, man, to where it was like a complete story, because they was from Babylon. The Babylonian scribes, the people who inherited our heritage, you see what I'm saying, were the people that held Jerusalem during Jesus' time. You see what I'm saying? And they wasn't all the way with what he was doing. You see what I'm saying? All right, if you go to Matthew 23:6. Let's see, Matthew 23:6. And love for the uttermost rooms and the chief priests in the synagogues. You see what I'm saying? He was in their synagogues. You know what I'm saying? He spent his time in their synagogues. All right. We can go to Mark, and you can see the same thing, that all he did was spend his time in synagogues. You know what I'm saying? And the synagogues was what Ashkenazi created. All right. All right, let's see. 121. Let me see. And when they come into Capernaum straightway on the Sabbath day, he entered into the synagogues and taught. See what I'm saying? So he was up in their synagogues, and there was in their synagogues a man with the unclean spirit, and he cried out, "That's gonna be a Scythian white dude. That's gonna be a Scythian white dude." And all the people who he healed and drove the demons out of, and took demons out of, and symbolically cleared them of their leprosy, them was all Scythians. His whole miracles and everything he did was on them Scythians that settled in the Decapolis. And that was part of the Babylonian conquest of the Promised Land, and they settled in the Decapolis cities. And Scythopolis was the head place right next to Nazareth. They wasn't nothing but a few feet from each other. So Jesus would spend his time educating those Scythians in the Decapolis who thought that they was Hebrews, but he was trying to put a new religion on them and stuff that was kind of like different from from what the other Edomites did in Jerusalem. You know what I'm saying? So then if you go to let me see one. All right, and he preached, let me see, that's gonna be Mark 1:39. And he preached in their synagogues throughout all Galilee and cast out devils. You know what I'm saying? Jesus was a mess. He was a mess. He was doing his magic on them white folks in the Decapolis, on them Scythians, and you Hebrews walking around thinking that them was Israelites. You see what I'm saying? And the reason that you thought that they was Israelites is because you believed in your preacher that had been taught in the enemy schools and stuff, and he came out and misled you, and you walking around spreading that garbage. You see what I'm saying? Well, the Israelite Brotherhood gonna clean it up. Israelite Brotherhood gonna clean it up for the Hebrews. You know what I'm saying? Like I say, I ain't trying to save you. I'm trying to save us. You see, I'm trying to save us. I ain't trying to save you individuals specifically. I don't care what you believe. This is for the whole Israelite community. Somebody gonna get this truth out of this. The rest of you heathens probably gonna perish with this false history lodged in you. You see what I'm saying? And when you leave this earth, you're gonna be left this earth with some false history, believing in a God, son that the devils created. You know what I'm saying? That them Babylonian scribes created, and they turned him into a God's son. You know what I'm saying? And Jesus said he was the son of man, and meaning SUN of man, that he came to shed some light on them and stuff. You see what I'm saying? And they done turned that around into something else. All right, if you go to second Marks, let me see, 39. All right, and then you go to 5:22. Let's see, 3 and you know what I'm saying? He was always in them folks synagogues. All right, and he entered again into the synagogue, and there was a man there which had a withered hand. You see what I'm saying? He was healing Scythians. Them barbaric beasts that came from the Caucasus Mountain, that been living in them caves for all them hundreds of years until they came to Assyria and got cleaned up, and then they destroyed Assyria, and then they came to Babylon, and then they took Babylon over, and then they came to the Promised Land and took our land over. You see what I'm saying? He was cleaning them up. He was spending his whole time dealing with them folks. You know what I'm saying? And then you Hebrews be running around thinking that Jesus was dealing with Israelites. And there were no Israelites in the Decapolis cities and Galilee, because the exiles from Babylon was destroyed. Malachi gonna be the last book. They sinned so bad that that's what allowed the Greeks to come in and get them. You know what I'm saying? In 332 and clean them up. You see what I'm saying? And knock them off. And knock them off and so fast that it hardly left a trail in history. And then you Hebrews think that the New Testament were the exiles. You see what I'm saying? And that's where everybody get fooled at. You see what I'm saying? All right. Let me see Jesus in them synagogues. And then if you go to Mark 5, you know what I'm saying? I hadn't even finished reading all the books, marking out all the synagogues he prayed in and healed in and did all that type of stuff. Man, I got tired of running across them. There was so many of them. You know what I'm saying? Mark 5:22. All right. And behold, there came one of the rulers of the synagogue, Jairus by name, and when he saw him, he fell at his feet. See, them folks was loving him, coming to them with the knowledge and stuff, even though it was false history and false knowledge. He was slick pulling the fast one on them because he wasn't teaching them the ways that the Edomites was being taught in Jerusalem, or the way that the folks in Jerusalem taught. You see what I'm saying? And I can show this too. You see what I'm saying? All right. Jesus in them synagogues. All right. And when he had spoke, there came from the rulers of the synagogue certain men which said, thy daughter is dead, which why troublest thou the master any farther? You see what I'm saying? He went and did his little magic on her. You see what I'm saying? And then, you know what I'm saying, he stayed fooling around in them synagogues. And when the Sabbath, this is 6, Mark 6, and when the Sabbath day was come, he began to teach in the synagogues. And many hearing him were astonished, saying, from whence had this man these things? What wisdom is this which he give unto them? See, that's because he come out of Egypt with that stuff. You see what I'm saying? So Jesus prayed in the synagogues. You know what I'm saying? And them Jews from the temple was after him and want to destroy him because he wasn't teaching them their way, the way that they, you know, wanted the message to be taught. You see what I'm saying? Because they was basically trying to do the Edomites what we did. You see what I'm saying? They was trying to do what we did and stuff. You know what I'm saying? If you go to all right, 55. I'm saying them folks was after him. All right. In that same hour, Jesus said to the multitude, are ye come out against a thief with swords and staves for to take me? I sat daily with you teaching in the temple. You know what I'm saying? You know what I'm saying? He was in them temple and them folks was after him. You know what I'm saying? Because he was teaching the message that wasn't the same as theirs. And he was teaching them Ashkenazi folks a whole different concept that basically blossom into what you have today with Christianity. And Ashkenazi was slick blessed Jesus by making him the Son of God. You see what I'm saying? Because he basically got them in. You see, he got them in. They had 380 synagogues and they wasn't progressing. But then he come out of Egypt with his information and his new religion, and then that kind of helped them a little bit. You know what I'm saying? But like I say, I believe that those Edomites was trying to get Jesus to teach them a different way, so they'll be lost and won't be on the covenant history that the Edomites was on. You know what I'm saying? Them Seb-Hardys. You know what I'm saying? All right, you go to Matthew 12, 21, 12. You know, 21, 12. All right. And Jesus went into the temple of God, which wasn't no temple of the Creator, because Herod took the temple all the way down to the foundation and built him an entirely different one. Some of you Hebrews say, oh, Herod refurbished the temple. Herod ain't refurbished crap. Herod took that temple all the way down to the ground and built him a brand new one. And Herod was an Edomite. And Jesus was praying in that temple. And Jesus went into the temple and cast out them that sold and brought in the temple and overthrew the tables and the money changers. You know, he wasn't doing nothing but messing with them merchants, them Jewish merchants that had set up in Herod Edomite temple. That's gonna be like a main summer. You see what I'm saying? So you know they gonna set up there. And all right, let me see. Jesus was in them synagogues. All right. Jesus had Edomite members. Go to Mark 3:8. Mark 3:8. We can show that Jesus had Edomite members. So all this should change y'all whole understanding and embracing that New Testament. You know what I'm saying? This should change all that. And he entered into the synagogue, and there was a man there with a withered hand. You know what I'm saying? All right. As you read down, you know what I'm saying, on 3, Mark 3, 7. But Jesus withdrew himself and his disciples to the sea, and a great multitude from Galilee followed him, and from Judea, and from Jerusalem, and from Idumea. That's going to be the Edomites, full-blooded Edomites, and from beyond Jordan. And they about Tyre and Sidon. Great multitudes. You see what I'm saying? So them folks was his members too. You see what I'm saying? So Jesus wasn't straight, and Jesus was the parable king. You see what I'm saying? He even said it himself. If you go to Matthew 13, Matthew 13, 35. Matthew 13, 35. And let me see. Yes, Matthew 13, 35. That it might be fulfilled which you spoke about the prophet, saying, nah, let me see, with his mouth I will utter things which have not been seen. And see, all these things spake Jesus unto the multitude in parable. Without a parable spake he not unto them. See, his whole time was speaking parables. Anybody can take a meaning from a parable because it ain't directly addressed to anybody specifically. You see what I'm saying? And you can draw your own meanings out of a parable, which those people did at that time, and that was being manipulative too. You see what I'm saying? And he come out of Egypt, as well as those other organizations, to convert those Ashkenazi Jews who had settled into the Discopolis and Scythopolis under the name Scythian. You see what I'm saying? That's Ashkenazi name in history. So Jesus was teaching the Ashkenazi Jews. That's why you have Messianic Jews that say we believe in Jesus. Them gonna be the direct descendants of the people that he was teaching. You see what I'm saying? Because you have the Sephardic Jews say we don't believe in no Jesus and no God's son, and they will stone you and kill you like they was trying to do. You see what I'm saying? But Ashkenazi embracing, Jews for Jesus. You see, they gonna go all the way back to biblical times, because those are the people he taught. He spent his whole time in the Discopolis teaching Caucasian European peoples. What part of that you Hebrews can't understand? Some of y'all gonna be like some blind lizards, can't see, your tongue hanging out, and you don't know what's going on, but you gonna keep believing in that garbage that them folks done gave us. That's why it's two books. The Tanakh in the New Testament. In the New Testament is 500 years difference between the closing of the Tanakh and 430 BC than the creation of the New Testament around about 70 AD to 100 AD. 500 years. 187,000 days went by, and then they come with a God's son that didn't deal with Hebrews, that dealt only with Ashkenazi. Jesus dealt only with Ashkenazi in the Discopolis cities. That's why all his miracles was did at in Galilee and in the Discopolis city. You see what I'm saying? So you Hebrews are kind of crazy when you speak this history and then speak it in Jesus in a positive term, not understanding real history. You see what I'm saying? Them folks done made a fool out of you, and they be making fools out of us all the time. You see what I'm saying? And that's one of the biggest fools, and that's why come our captivity done last so long, because we still on that Jesus stuff. See what I'm saying? And ain't no forgiveness for that. How you gonna worship another God and stuff and then try to slick call him God's son? See, Jesus spoke parables. All right, if you go to Mark 4:34, but without a parable spake he not unto them. And when they were alone, he expounded all things to his disciples. You see what I'm saying? So Jesus spoke parables. Jesus spoke parables. You see what I'm saying? Jesus spoke parables, and that's all he ever did. And then, you know, we done took that and done turned that into something magical. And it's not. Jesus was educating Scythians in the Discopolis. You know what I'm saying? And Jesus even made a new religion. You know what I'm saying? If you go to Matthew 6, Matthew 26, 8, look what this devil said. Jesus was a devil. Let me see, 26, Matthew 26, 20, 28. For with this is my blood of the New Testament, which is shed for many for the remission of sin. Man, that's pure evil and wicked, because the Creator set the curses out. And it wasn't no way for the Hebrews to escape the curses when covenant was broke. You see what I'm saying? So how in the world can somebody holler a remission for sins that, you know, couldn't happen? You know what I'm saying? And if you go to Mark 3:14, let's see what that say. You know what I'm saying? 3:14. And he ordained 12 that they should be with him, and that he might send them forth to preach. You see what I'm saying? And to have power to heal the sickness and to cast out devils. That was them people in the Discopolis, them unclean Scythians, who had all that blood on their hand from when they chased us out the promised land and when they burnt the temple down. You see, the Scythians burnt the temple down because the Scythians were with the Chaldeans. They made up the Chaldean army. You see what I'm saying? They made up the Chaldean army. So they burnt the temple down and had the blood on their hands from when they chased us out the promised land. You see what I'm saying? So he was slick, man. There's all kind of stuff going on. And that's like when Jesus went to Egypt. You know, Jesus wouldn't have seen nothing but white statues of the Ptolemies everywhere. You see what I'm saying? And that when Jesus went to Egypt, it would have been hard for him to hide as a black person, being that the Greeks held Egypt since the 332 BC, and then the Romans took it over in 20 BC. So by the time Jesus got there, it wouldn't have been none but white folks running around Egypt. You see what I'm saying? Egypt didn't change from white to the mixed Arabs until 600 something AD, when the Arabs took Egypt over. You see what I'm saying? They ran across North Africa going into Spain and stuff. You see what I'm saying? But before then, Egypt was ran by white folks. You see what I'm saying? And this all Jesus would have seen was the Ptolemies. It would have been impossible for Jesus to hide in Egypt being black. You see what I'm saying? Jesus was a Edomite. And then it's a known fact that that Herod built that temple in 20 BC and that Jesus prayed in it. It's a known fact that Jesus prayed in synagogues with the Scythians and healed the Scythians, and there wasn't no Hebrews there. So you Hebrews got to wake up. You Hebrews got to wake up, and then your Jesus equivalent is the same person, same history, ain't no escaping it. You see what I'm saying? And then that's why comes that old devil, Paul, you know what I'm saying, the mixed Greek Roman dude, mixed with the Greeks, gonna say, well, there is neither Scythian nor barbarian, and that all is in Jesus, and you know what I'm saying, and that junk is real crazy. All right, well, in the world, 3:11. Let's see, 3:11. All right. Where there is neither Greek nor Jew, circumcision nor uncircumcision, barbarian, Scythian, bound, free, but Christ is in all and in all. See, that's him starting getting his religion popping when he come out of Egypt and tried to put his new religion on the Scythians, and it was successful because it got everybody snared today. And Scythopolis was right next to Nazareth. right next to Nazareth, and those are the Discopolis cities. Scythopolis is gonna be the head city. Scythopolis is gonna be the head city. You see what I'm saying? That's the head Discopolis city, and the rest of them, you see what I'm saying? Jesus parlayed in them, kicking it with them folks. And if you read in history, all European white folks. So Jesus came to the white folks and healed them, and he was an Edomite. See what I'm saying? Because he ain't know nothing about Third Temple. And Scythopolis and Costopolis equals Scythian equals Ashkenazi. You see what I'm saying? And that's how Ashkenazi got they start in the promised land. And then that's why them devils try to say that Ashkenazi disappeared from history and stuff. You know what I'm saying? The mysterious disappearance of Scythians remains unsolved. The Israelite Brotherhood solved it, because I show you how Ashkenazi got in our heritage with the Chaldeans. You see what I'm saying? The Israelite Brotherhood solved it. This is a message from Israel being Israel. The Israelite Brotherhood. You see what I'm saying? And I'm showing you Hebrews some truth. You see what I'm saying? And with this truth, you're supposed to free the other Hebrews. You're supposed to show them that Jesus prayed in the Discopolis, in synagogues. You see what I'm saying? That the Scythians created, because they couldn't go to the temple. You see what I'm saying? And how Jesus kicked it and ministered to them only. Ministered to them only. And Paul would take his ministry to other spots. You see what I'm saying? To European held lands. And if you research those lands that Paul went to, all Caucasians, and you can't find no Hebrews, no black folks there. Try to find some black culture in them lands that Paul went to, and see that it's basically impossible. See what I'm saying? This is a message from the Israelite Brotherhood. This is a message from the Israelite Brotherhood. Like I say, I ain't trying to save you. I'm trying to save us. Shalom. Jesus was in the Discopolis. His whole message was to the Scythians that had settled in our land after the conquest and them running us into Africa, and they settled in the Discopolis cities, and Scythopolis was the head city, and Jesus prayed and healed them in all their synagogues, and that's all his message was about. That's all his message was about, and you can't take his message and turn it into nothing else. You see what I'm saying? That's all his message was about. You see what I'm saying? And Ashkenazi was first associated with the Scythians. You see what I'm saying? Shalom. This is a message from the Israelite Brotherhood. We ain't finna be slipping no more on that Jesus stuff. Here's the keys to get out that mess. Shalom to the Hebrews.